Just be a witness to yourself, be in the moment, and when you're being in the moment, everything happens naturally. So if you think obviously death is coming, then living the life naturally, focusing and improving your breath is the best way to prepare for death.
Yash Shekhar, a bioenergy healer, Himalayan yogi, a sadhak who is a Kriya Yoga and Kundalini Yoga practitioner, which helped him to develop his personality as a yogi with a deep knowledge of spirituality. He loves free diving too. In this interview, he spoke on how death is connected with spirituality, why we have a fear of death, and how one should approach it, and many more.
So, friends, how many of you have fear of death? What is death? And generally, we connect death with black. So, today we have a very great master, Himalayan yogi, who started his meditation journey at the age of 4. He's a great sadhak and bioenergy healer. So, I would like to introduce him. Welcome, Yashji.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Namaste, everyone.
So, Yashji, even I have fear of death.
Okay.
So, what is death and why do we fear?
Well, there are two questions, so I'll answer one by one.
Yes.
So death is the process of finishing of something and beginning of something new. It's the process of ending and beginning. And at any stage of your life, whatever age it is, because there is like natural death and there is like sudden deaths, it will come first. So it's like a cycle of death and then the rebirth and death. I very strongly believe in the philosophy of rebirth, and I believe, like everything, Earth has law of conservation, which means there has to be a balance. So the balance of birth, there has to be death, so that there can be birth again.
Right.
So death is the end of a process, and hence it's also a start of the process.
And how one should take it?
Look, first of all, like everything in life, you should take it from the aspect of learning and growth, enjoyment. Which means, you can ask me, how can someone enjoy death? First, the concept is that death is a symbol of giving. During the process of death, things are finishing out. So if you have desires at the time of death, then death is a problematic thing, because these desires will be in form of thoughts and ripples, and will not let the focus and the process happen naturally. It's a process of finishing up of things, and this is a spiritual perspective. And now if you see the medical perspective, during death the two primary things happening is LMC, which is loss of motor control, and then blackout. And in blackout you don't have any control over the body elements. In loss of motor control, LMC, you have control over the body elements. So basically, but in LMC you are not getting enough sufficient oxygen in the air, and hence your body parts are suffering. So the oxygen starts getting pumped back towards the critical organs. So it's a painful process, and a pain keeps increasing, and gradually a point comes when the body starts losing control. Your mind starts losing control, and that is called blackout. So in the state of blackout, there is hardly any pain because you are not in control, and slowly a person is passing away. So these two components will always be there. There can be a third component of pain also, which is different degrees depending on the kind of thoughts and desires you have.
Okay.
So one can be aware of this and can work to reduce the pain. That is how it
So
is.
we have control over it.
We have definitely a partial control over it.
Okay.
Definitely can control. Like during my training of free diving, I realized that. So I could hold my breath gradually for very long durations compared to normal person, and realized that it's a lot about studying your reactions of the body as well as the reaction of the mind. So if you are relatively thoughtless, what these yogis do, your death is nearly painless.
Right.
You can train for this. It is possible to train your mind and body to prepare for it by improving the level of thoughts. It's not about holding your breath actually. It's more about preparing your mind to be still, calm, and it takes years of practice to reach that level, and that will help you to take this whole process in a much more relaxed frame of mind. When they use the word brave, earlier terms veer, it means someone who can be in a much more relaxed state in case of any kind of problems in life, as well as any kind of unknown circumstances, sudden circumstances in life. For all this, death is like an ultimate test of your life.
So here death is like unknown fear which we don't know. That's why we.
Look, the concept of fear itself is linked with the concept of unknown.
Right. Yes.
You know, the biggest fear is also always of something unknown. So, and what happens after death is not known. There have been cases of people coming back after death and giving, talks and everything. But truly speaking, scientifically, still we don't know what happens after death. Practically, really, it's not like a process based thing. Okay, someone dies and then you can call them every time organized way. There's no institute for that. So it's like a process which is a process of unknown, and it's a very sad moment because most people, it's about perspective. So most people are missing the presence of a person who was always there, who was communicating with them, and who was physically connecting with them at a physical plane level. So once the person goes missing, the perspective doesn't come that what would have happened next. The perspective comes is that person is not there. So it's a loss for them. Something which was there is not there. So it's definitely from a tangible number gone to zero. But what we don't realize is that it may have gone to something better for that soul. Because we are not witnessing it, so we don't know about it. That's why death is linked with something sad or shock or fear. Had it been a clear case example and knowingness that okay, the person is going to another better place or better world, we would have taken death in a different way.
Right. Yes.
So that's why the perspective is very important, that okay, you are not sure what would have happened. Maybe it went to a better place, the soul went to a better place, maybe it went to a worse place. But by default, because the person is missing, so that makes it a negative perspective.
Right,
if you think that no, they have gone to a better place and we are very hell-bent towards this, it's just an assumption in an initial level. Definitely that makes things better. And if you read any religion of the world, especially if you study the Sanatan Dharma and Hinduism and all, they talk very clearly about afterbirth. Even Buddhism to a certain extent talks about this. So my point is that the approach toward death should be like, okay, see from a practical aspect also, earth is balanced, this is law of conservation. So nothing actually, like in physics they say energy is neither created nor destroyed. Energy is never created, never destroyed. It's the same, it just keeps changing form. Now that's physics, that's not philosophy. So if you just believe soul is energy, and actually speaking, you see when you're functioning, when you're alive, what are you doing? You're giving energy to the system in different ways, different institutions, different organizations. So that energy is there, and it's not there, it can't be possible. So it means that it has gone somewhere else, not in your dimension, some other dimension. And this I'm talking like a person who's having slight knowledge of physics, not of a philosophy. Definitely philosophies talk about this. Indian scriptures are full of these things.
I mean, so many authors also,
Have written, not a modern authors have also writing modern. But my approach is about perspective. Anything in higher life, you should handle it with a very, very strong and optimistic approach.
So how to prepare for it? As you said, the way we handle it, right?
First, I believe that you should read properly. Yeah, when you read properly, that's the first step of preparation.
So we need to read on death?
Yeah, you have to read about
Life?
bravery.
Okay.
Read authors, read poems which are brave. Like if I say in Hindi, हम कुछ करें ना करें अलग बात है, but कोशिश नहीं की ये गलत बात है.
Very true.
So
yes.
you just try to take things from a positive perspective. There are a lot of poems. I can tell you a few poems from in Hindi. There is one very much I like that. क्या हार में क्या जीत में किंचित नहीं भयभीत में संघर्ष पथ पर जो मिले ये भी सही वो भी सही.
Wow.
So this kind of perspective prepares you for everything. Everyone dies. Most of them actually. I'm not about the Chiranjeevis here, about the immortals, but nearly everyone dies. So how you take it is very important, and that's possible to work upon it.
Okay, so what next? I mean, reading, what it gives us?
First of all, you have to understand the whole process. First of all, what happens during death? So finally, clinical death is when your heartbeat stops.
Right.
That is measured by the ECG device. But actually, death is when your whole existence has finished. Your brain cells, everything is completely deactivated, I can say. So in that stage, primarily you are moving from the state of action to complete state of inaction, like a patient of coma or a patient on ventilator. And the example of people who are in samadhi states or very deep states, their functioning of the critical organs keeps getting lower, lower, lower. If I give medical example, the coma patients, as it keeps getting lower and lower, 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 finally it's like a near death state.
Right.
So obviously a near death state is more closer to death than a normal state. So if you see that state, what is happening? You are becoming still. So death can be definitely very strongly connected to stillness. Death is very near to stillness. Your brain, mind, body is gradually, you won't find a dead body dancing except in horror movies. So basically in death it's a still state.
Yeah.
So you have to prepare for stillness. Now suppose you give one compartment of your day or week or month or year to practice stillness, definitely you will be more prepared or more relaxed in this process of death than a normal person who has not given this component enough importance. Like a lot of people take it कि जब आएगी तब देखेंगे, and I've seen these kind of people suffering more
Yes, yes, that's
because
very
they
true.
they they have not given enough respect to death.
And here I want to add something. When we celebrate each and every moment, when we enjoy our life,
Yeah.
see our founder member of PSSM,
Yeah.
Brahmarshi Patriji,
Yeah.
he said that you should enjoy and celebrate your death also.
Yeah.
So, how, I mean, see, the spiritual people, they take it very positively because
Yeah.
that is ultimate truth.
Yeah.
And no one can change it. So, why to fear? Just take it easily and accept it. So, why and how spirituality is connected with death?
Look, first I'll answer the why. Spirituality is connected to it because spirituality talks about spirit.
Right.
After death, what remains is your spirit,
Spirit.
and spirituality talks about spirit. So obviously, spirituality connects to death. There's no question about it, because spirituality believes in body, mind, and soul.
Soul.
Medical science doesn't believe in soul. So for medical science, the story ends at death.
But they somewhere they believe that that energy is there, right?
Definitely, they are believing in
Yeah.
cases, but
Yes.
once the ECG and EEG shows zero, they believe in clinical death
It's-
and complete
yeah.
death. That's the
Right,
process ends.
right.
That's why dead body is declared dead by a medically acclaimed certified doctor. That's how death they say. It's not that just someone says and there's a
True.
process. But spirituality talks about very clearly about a spirit which stays alive after death.
Hmm.
And in lot of books and all, especially in Bhagavad Gita, they have mentioned clearly about Atma. Not only mentioned, they have told about the characteristics of it. Like it can't be wet by water, it can't be air. So it is described as an indestructible force which stays after this. So spirituality and maybe nearly all the religions have talked about this in certain ways, some angles, certain ways. But definitely Sanatana Dharma has talked about it in a much more detailed way, and also Buddhism, that it stays. There's something which stays. Not okay. Let's not go into the fact that whether it is there or not. Let's start from a beginner's note. That even the thought that it stays creates some effect. So we have reached a stage when now I am thinking about death. So you can say, but how can thinking about something make a real difference? Practical question. I would say you think you are rubbing a piece of lime, a slice of lime on your tongue. Just imagine it for some seconds, and you will feel saliva getting
It's
generated on your tongue.
yes.
So I didn't give you a real piece of slime, and nobody rubbed it in your tongue, neither did you do that. Then how is a thought creating a real saliva?
So, like mind cannot, differentiate that whether it is truth
Correct.
or
Correct. So
yeah.
no, but for mind, a thought created real matter. Saliva is a
Yes,
real
yes.
matter created by the salivary gland in the human body. But I had just one thought or couple of thoughts which create that saliva. What I am pointing is mind over matter.
Yes.
So similarly, the concept of preparing for death helps you to prepare for the actual physical event of death in a better way. So I'm just correlating these two experiences. Like the example, so life prepares you for death. In the example, if you are imagining a piece of lime being rubbed and it creates real saliva, similarly you preparing for death, even through imaginary figures, it helps you, and everyone does that. I will tell you that you may say it's superstitious. I will say a very simple example that here's where psychology and science mixes and matches. If you practically thinking go for an interview and you have wore a blue shirt that day and the interview goes good, and after every consecutive years or whenever time you give an interview and you wear a blue shirt and it goes good, trust me, after 5 or 6 times you would prefer to get biased to wear blue. What is this? And I have seen so many sportsmen doing it, like so many politicians, everybody does that. Why? Because after 4 5 times it's not an event, it's a trend. Even economics, commerce studies about trend. Even share market studies about trend. So
So
we all are believing in
what is
it.
this? It's all belief.
Look, that's what I'm coming to. Your belief makes so much of a difference. It's not superstitious. A new government comes in power and the share market rises. Tell me what has a new government coming in power to do with the performance of an individual company? But that's how your opinions, your belief affects reality. So I say this is perception affecting your reality.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Please throw some more light
Yeah.
on it.
So basically your perceptions are creating your reality.
Right.
Look, have you ever seen a house, a good house being created without a good map by an architect? So isn't the map a perception? You first create the mental perception and then you create the reality. Same with your design of the life and death. There are certain people who are, if suppose someone is preparing for death and death comes, definitely the panic level will be less if not zero.
Yes.
And if you're not, and anything you are not prepared, if you go for examination and you are prepared, you see your experience, you see your mental state, and you are non-prepared and go for exam, see your mental state. Every scientist will agree to me that yeah, because they have themselves gone through that process. An unprepared mind creates more fear than a prepared mind.
True.
In fact, for some people who are prepared, they enjoy it.
Yes, yes, definitely.
So same is for death also. The perspective is more important. Most people are like, oh, it will come, it will come, it will come. Instead of preparing for it, it's more like if I want to get a very good marks in the exam, instead of preparing for a subject, I keep talking, oh, I must get 90 out of 100, 90 out of 100. That will not get me good marks. Knowing the subject gets me good mark. Similarly, thinking about death and what will happen after death will not prepare me for death. Actually understanding what happens during death, how your body slows down, how your nervous system slows down, how your control gets lost. That's why I use the medical terms LMC and blackout. And not talking just the spiritual terms. There are medical terms which happen. Loss of motor control happens during death. Blackout happens. You lose control over your body and then mind. It's like a preparation of a machine to shut itself down.
So it is for everyone, like who are conscious enough and who are not even
Yeah,
who are
conscious
not
enough.
even conscious.
That's
So
right.
those people who are unconscious, even they does the same thing but unknowingly.
Look, I'll give a very relative example. I like this example a lot. It's more like suppose you are in a train from suppose Delhi to Hyderabad and now you're sleeping in the train. But that doesn't mean if you wake up you will not reach Hyderabad if you're starting from Delhi. Because you are on a train, so you reach from Delhi to Hyderabad.
Definitely.
You may be aware and awake or you may be asleep.
True. Yeah.
So it's like a process after every cycle of the body, but yes, you can affect the lifestyle to have a different way. A lot of people die at 90, a lot of people die at 60.
Yes.
Like the kind of life stress you take, the amount of sleep you take, the kind of food you eat, the kind of thoughts you have. I especially focus on these 3 points a lot. I have become a symbol of talking about these topics of achar, vichar, and vyavahar, which means your conduct, your thoughts, and the food you eat. These three make a lot of difference. Whatever you are doing, you just think about this.
How and why it makes difference?
Well, how it makes a difference is because once your food is, you're taking care of the food, then that takes care of your body. Whatever you eat, you become. This is again in
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita also.
Yeah.
You become what you eat. So kind of food you eat, and that's very true. That you see the kind of food people eat. A lot of very rich people, after eating wrong kind of food, had a very bad kind of physical body. They themselves are a big testimony. They themselves, you can't hide it. What's inside your go down will come up on the surface also. So your eating habits again, your conduct, at what time you go to sleep. I've known a lot of very successful people, very famous actors who sleep at time at whatever happens. They have got the option to go to any party and all, but they'll stick to the routine. They'll sleep at time. Like I'm very big fan. I don't want to name the actor, but I'm very happy about such people who are doing such things.
Yes.
So that is about the conduct. Then is the thoughts. You use the words. You use a positive word and you use a negative word. You see how you feel. Try to imagine the word happy. Say happy and imagine the word happy. And try to say the word sad and imagine the word sad.
That's very true.
That's true. Now I'll give another example. Something in between. Just to show a neutral perspective. Like Krishna did, brought the chariot in between both the sides. Use a non-positive word. You will see using a positive word like happy makes you feel like this. Using a negative word like sad makes you feel like this. And using a non-positive word like not happy will make you feel somewhere in between.
Yes.
Because human brain cannot process the word no. Human brain cannot process zero. There is nothingness for them. So when you say not happy, it first goes to happy, then tries to become not happy, but doesn't reaches till sad. So semi-state. That's why in life, when you get arguing with your loved ones or anyone close, don't use negative words. Use non-positive words. I'm not stopping you from arguing. That's all right. I'm saying instead of using a negative word, use a non-positive word. Instead of saying I am sad with you, say I am not happy with you. You have diluted the emotion. Not for that person's benefit only, for your own brain cells benefit. No one how much strong can handle stress for more than a limit. So when you start using non-positive words, the level of stress you create for yourself, I'm trying to tell you to be selfish actually, is helping your brain cells to function more and maybe to say negative things to other people, more people, but in a non-positive way. So this way you are reaching to constructive criticism. That's good for your system, your own brain.
So everything it starts from ourselves, then we spread it.
Yeah.
So when you were saying about energy, right?
Yeah.
It never created, never
Not destroyed. It
not
only changes
destroyed.
forms.
Right.
Yeah.
So from where we have begun and where we are going to end, I mean this energy, this spirit,
Yeah.
in the case of death or birth.
That actually is the part of the question you said about how. So this all is coming under the how. The process of death is actually preparing to the process to be still. If you can sit in a position or stand in a position for long time duration, gradually, slowly training your mind and body, you are preparing for death. Anybody who cannot be still will have difficulty mastering the process of death.
So yeah, like TK, I understood it, but I'm asking like before birth and after death, where the spirits goes.
I have not done it physically yet, so I can't answer that question. I only talk about things I have on my own experience. But what I have read about this is that this is the time when the resting time, the stillness time is there. So different energies, as I said, energies neither created nor destroyed, must be going to a resting phase. It's more like a transit. I'll give example. We don't know about death, but we definitely know about sleep. Much more to the death. What happens in sleep? You are awake, you fall sleepish, and then you fall asleep, and then you again sleepish, and you wake up. So I'm again making it like a scientific process. You are awake, you feel sleepish, you fall to sleep, you are again sleepish, and you're awake. Everybody will agree to me. It's more like breath cycles. Inhale, hold, retention, exhale, small gap, inhale. Same. So in the process of sleep, when you're sleepish, how are you feeling? You're neither awake nor
Not
sleep.
sleep. Yeah.
So similarly is the state of death. So I have a very strong belief that in the process of death, you're passing through semi-states.
Okay.
You're going through experiences. I have seen some people dying during their natural old age, and I've seen that a lot of them lose their memory. You start
Yes.
losing your memory.
Yes.
But understand it's a way of releasing yourself from the connection. How can you feel good or bad or think about someone if you don't have memory? It's more like I ask you to think about something, but without using a language. Try to think about something without using any language. It's a very good, my points are very experimental points. Try to think no, zero. Try to think about something without using a language.
Not possible.
Not possible, right? But that non-possibility also holds the possibility of stillness. If you're not thinking about anything which the human brain is constantly thinking, you are still. It's a reverse psychology, but it's working because I ask you to think about something but don't use a language. And I know in Tibetan systems, in Indian systems, in Himalayas, a lot of yogis have exceptional method. They have really investigated the scientific spirituality. So what I'm saying is that what these Himalayan yogis are different from normal yogis is that these Himalayan yogis are like scientists, but their science study is on the mind. Their mind training level is exceptionally well built.
Could you please give some examples?
Look, for example, I can be sitting in a small cave, and I can imagine that I'm sitting in a palace. You can tell me how is it possible? But right now I give you an example. By imagining a piece of lemon on your tongue, you can produce saliva. So if I develop that power to a very high degree, why can't I sit in a cave and feel I'm like a palace? Finally, in a palace also you're sitting at some place.
Right. Yeah.
Like this a very good movie was the Matrix. It said anything you touch gives you the impulse of touch, right? So if you can produce the same impulse by thinking, you feel touched. So your imagination is a big power. Actually, the process of meditation is the process of imagination. Meditation is not about sitting somewhere. Sitting is a preparation for meditation.
Right.
Someone can be running and can be in meditation. Someone can be walking and can be in meditation. Like one of my personal favorite cricketers was Rahul Dravid. When he used to bat, it was amazing. It was looking like he's meditating. It was so difficult to get him out. He'll keep playing, especially in test matches with amazing performance. So what I'm saying is that you can be doing your work very well, in sync with your work, effortlessly, and you will be meditating.
Right.
So it's something like that. Whatever you are doing, don't resist the process, be the process. A lot of spiritual masters have told this.
Yes, definitely.
That become the process. If you are reading a book, become the book.
That's why, like, when we start meditation, we own everything. We started getting merged with those things, and
Yeah.
then things get much better
Yeah.
for students, for anyone.
So just even for students. Okay, I'll give a very simple example. Just proving how much a student is meditating. You read a book first time and you read the book 10th time. If first time it took you 4 hours, 10th time it will definitely take you less than 4 hours. Why? Your synchronization with the book has improved. You are more in continuous flow of attention and awareness with the book. That's what meditation is. There was a very good example of a Zen monk who was training a young boy, and this boy was initially very sluggish. That's why I said you should not judge anyone. Anybody can improve. Then he said, you do one thing. What do you like? He said, I like to go in the fields and play with the buffaloes and work with them. He said, you do one thing. You meditate on buffalo only. This boy said, okay, I'll try. So he goes in a cave, small path. He enters there. Now he's meditating there. Many days pass. So the teacher felt that now I should check whether he is, a responsible teacher should also check what's happening. So when he goes there, he's standing outside the cave and saying, okay, now come out. Enough for meditation on the buffalo. He said, how can I come out? I am a buffalo. It's such a small way for me to come back. So then the master, while standing outside, tells him, okay, now meditate on being the same boy. So he again meditates on the boy and he comes back. That's a beautiful example of amalgamation and meditation. You don't need to be very sharp or intellectual to meditate. This boy was not very sharp. But you need continuity of awareness to be meditative. That's why very simple people have achieved great heights in spirituality. The scope is all open for anyone. Anybody who is sincere to the process and is continuous enough will become like that.
So coming to my another question, does religion and spirituality take death as a milestone?
Look, the entire concept of religion is based on death. Most people who are religious, you will see that there is definitely about, religion gives you the power to face unknown.
Right.
What is the biggest power of religion? It gives a great motivation to handle unseen circumstances.
In general cases, being religious is having great practice, right?
Yeah.
When you are practicing more, you possess and you have that capacity to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, every religion is ritualistic. And when you are following any ritual, what is practice and ritual are same thing.
Same thing.
So once you practice something again and again and again, redundancy creates reliability.
You become master.
You become master. Anything you try to do it. Anything you have done first time, 10th time, 100th time, your reliability, your confidence gets higher. When I was beginning to learn swimming, I used to always doubt that, okay, if I will hold my breath, like normally in swimming, if you hold your breath and go in water, you will be afloat. So when my initial 4-5 times, I used to not fully believe that. I was thinking, I'm holding the breath, but maybe still this pool of water thinks differently and maybe I go inside. My point is that, but gradual practice is that no, it's reliable. Like nearly everywhere, it will be like that. Except Dead Sea, where even if you're not having much of the air, still you will be floating. So obviously, religion, if you're doing something ritualistic again and again and again, and whichever God or your source of power you connect to, be it in any form, be it in the form of Om or Allah or any other form, that that if you start connecting it to a full universal level, it gives you the power and confidence to face life and definitely hence face death. Someone who has been confident in one aspect will definitely carry that confidence in that aspect. May not be able to completely convert it, but will definitely be more confident. So religion, now that's not religious aspect, which is more ritualistic. So here we have also defined in a way difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is more about practice. Spirituality is more about investigation. Now think about it. It's my opinion, but think about it. Isn't it a bit like that? When we say this person is, a lot of times in Facebook and other times you will see he or she is spiritual but not religious. So that's a bit about this kind of openness. about an investigative approach, which means you have more options and you choose your path. It's more about the freedom of choice. So, in spirituality, obviously, death is a very interesting topic. Most of spiritual masters are writing on death because of that same fact.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really very a great example. Here I want to know, according to yogis, see in general terms, like people they are more fearful about death, right? Because you are also yogi. So how this yogis takes a death?
Look, I'll tell you one thing. You can't. It's more like the being in the real world and virtual world. When you are dreaming in a virtual world, you can't be very brave in very brave in real life and very fearful in sleep state. People who are brave, when they will be in dream state, there also they will be brave. You will see this. People who are brave generally, whatever they do, they will have that attitude of bravery. So when people, a yogi, a typical normal yogi in Himalayas, they are staying with very less. Even now, if you go to higher Himalayas, the infrastructure facilities are less, which is very good because you are not going there for holiday. I don't believe Himalayas is for holiday. I very strongly believe it's for training. If you go there and start demanding everything what you demand in a normal city life, you are spoiling the flora fauna there. You are creating huge pressure on the infrastructure there. And actually, you are going there for what? For meditating, then meditate. Why do you need 7 course meal in the Himalayas? So, the real yogis who are doing their sadhana, they are basically focusing on staying on less.
Right. Yeah.
They are not focusing on staying on more. Their focus is on staying on less. So, as they become more powerful, they start becoming more independent. In the field of spirituality, this word is very important, independence. Spirituality will give you strength later, it will give you independence first.
Yeah.
So that's why in the terms of food, they say char ahari who takes 4 meals, teen ahari 3 meals, do ahari 2 meals, ek ahari 1 meal, mansahari who takes flesh, shakahari who's on veg, phalahari who's on fruits, jalahari who's on water, vayuahari who's on air, nirahari is not taking anything. So I have not defined them. They have been there since ages. So as you become spiritually more powerful, so definitely someone who is Shakahari is weaker than relatively than someone who is Nirahari. We had in few study autobiography of yogis is mentioning of such kind of yoginis who are not taking food at all.
Yes.
So my point is like that kind of example, and it's interesting when I use the word yogi, I don't mean only the male yogis. Yogi is a term for anybody who does yoga. It's not about male or female. It's completely neutral thing. It's basically about your ability to do yoga. Nirahari Devi was a very very famous yogini. Anandamayi Ma was very powerful. There are a lot of others also. So my point is that it's your ability to connect to stillness and remain still. That's the prime thing. And as you become still, you feel that you don't need anything. You may still have it when it comes to you, but you are not dependent upon it.
Right.
I may enjoy the luxuries which are coming to me, but I may not be unhappy when it's not there. Man ka ho to acha, na ho to aur bhi acha. Something like that. So these yogis have trained their mind to stay in dangerous environment. A lot of them stay in the snow, when even it's snowing a lot, in the glaciers. Now imagine if you stay so close to death, when death can happen to you anytime, you will not be that fear. You don't have the time to fear about death. Because when you are not dying, you are normal because you are used to it. When you are dying, the death happens so fast. So what happens with them? They're actually enjoying a lot because there is no fear. For fear to happen, you must feel you have something which you can lose. The more you have, the more you will be fearful. Try to feel it.
I'm getting more curious after knowing all these things. So I want to know how these yogis they increase their lifespan, because yogis they they live for 200 years, 300 years. I heard that. So how and what happened exactly?
Look, okay, from a medical perspective, your breath, your thoughts are connected.
Right.
So basically, staying alive means taking breath. As your breaths are deeper and slower, most relaxed, you will live longer. But if it's impossible. Try it again. Again, a scientific experiment. Try to think a lot, be very stressed, and have a long breath.
Not possible.
Not possible. And try to be very still, very
Right.
relaxed, and have a short breath. Not possible.
So it's a
So
practice
it's a connection. Yeah, basically by being thoughtless. You can start from thought work, you reach and control of breath. You can start from breath work, you can reach to thought. It's about holding the nose from which clockwise or anti-clockwise, doesn't matter. Your point is that the more thoughtless you become, the lesser threats you have, the more relaxed will be your breath. Breath is of only three kinds. The worst kind of breathing is shallow and fast. Better is deep and fast. Best is deep and slow. Shallow and fast are normal people or sick people or stressed people. Deep and fast are sports people, martial arts, everyone who's fine. And best is deep and slow. You see, not only in human, in animal kingdom, the animals which have deeper and slower breath live longer. See elephants, see turtles, tortoise, all them having very long life because they are breathing deep and slow. So you need to understand that nature is teaching you everything.
So are they also thoughtless? I mean, those.
Relatively more. Definitely, basically a turtle is or tortoise is thinking less than a tiger is thinking. It's not tiger is not strong. Tiger is very strong, but it's not living for 100 years.
Yes, yes.
So the thoughts affect you.
So, though you have explained everything very beautifully, but still, like how common people, Aam Aadmi, how common people should approach death.
Well, first of all, Aam Aadmi should try to enjoy a lot and learn a lot. I have very strong belief that either you should enjoy life or you should learn in life. If you are doing anything third, you are primarily wasting your time. So every institution of the world is made for a normal human being to enjoy and grow. Growth and enjoyment are the two pillars of life. And if you do this properly, you are doing the best. After this, if you are investigative about this, try to work on your breath to become deeper and slower. And it's not very tough. You just give 5 minutes per day is also good enough. Your stomach should be relatively empty. And with that empty stomach, you can practice this simple watching your breath. In one of the videos I've shared in my YouTube channel also about how to do simple breath. I am doing in lotus posture. You can do it in simple postures. Where you just watch yourself breathing. And when I say watch yourself breathing, breathe like a baby does. When you inhale, your stomach should come out. When you exhale, stomach should go in. As slow and as deep as possible. That's it. And if you watch your breath, become a witness, what you call as drishta bhav, this happens naturally. So by doing this, you are doing your best to prepare for it. Instead of thinking about death, if you think about your breath, that will help you prepare for it much better. It's more like the student who is actually studying rather than just thinking about getting good marks. Then hence he or she will get good marks.
That's beautifully explained. That how to celebrate when we are in present state and when this
Yeah.
practice particularly watching our breath.
Yeah.
That's beautifully, Yashji.
Thank you everyone. That's a very nice discussion. Just be a witness to yourself, be in the moment, and when you're being in the moment, everything happens naturally. And anybody who is being in the moment is the best preparation for the future. So if you think obviously death is coming, then living the life naturally, focusing and improving your breath is the best way to prepare for death. Thank you.
So thank you, Yashji, for bringing this beautiful topic and for explaining so well. Thank you, friends, for watching this episode, and please like, share, and subscribe PMC English. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Very nice. Thank you so much.